Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Ham Nation is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This episode of Ham Nation is brought to you by NatureBox. NatureBox ships great-tasting snacks right to your door. Start snacking smarter with wholesome, delicious treats like baked cheddar potato sticks. To get your complimentary NatureBox sampler, visit naturebox.com/twit. That's naturebox.com/twit. And by ICOM. For more information, visit icomamerica.com/hamnation. And by DX Engineering. DX Engineering offers practically everything you need to outfit your shack, plus the fastest shipping in the industry. In-stock items ship the same day, Monday through Friday until 10 p.m. Eastern. For more information, visit dxengineering.com/hamnation.
This is Ham Nation, episode 172 for November 5th, 2014. Ships ahoy! Good evening and welcome to another exciting episode of Ham Nation. We've got a fun one lined up for you tonight. First, let's say hello to my buddy down south here, Don Wilbanks. Hi, Don.
Hey, what's happening? The Saints are playing this week, and LSU is playing this week, and I'm torn. So I'm just going to put my Southern Miss hat on and just be done with all of it. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I really don't. It's just one of those days.
And we've got Amanda in here with us, too, tonight. She's going to be doing the chat room a little later on in the show. Hi, Amanda.
Good evening, everybody. Nice to be here early for once. Nice to see all your happy faces. So send me those questions, don't forget, and we'll be chatting at you later this evening.
Oh, thanks, Amanda. And, of course, we've got the big cheese here, the big wig, the man in the short shorts. It's Gordo.
Yes, we're in the short shorts, and good to see everybody tonight, George. And, you know, Bob is going to be attending this Saturday at NARCFest at the Nixa Event Center in Missouri. So for those of you going to the NARCFest this Saturday, look for Bob Heil. And, boy, this Saturday I'll be over at Ham Radio Outlet down in San Diego, and I should be out at South Bay Amateur Radio Club and some of the other fun clubs. But the big club going on this coming Saturday is the Grand Strand Amateur Radio Club. They call it the Beach Fest at Myrtle Beach. Good surfing there in South Carolina. For info, w4golfsierra.org. Now, week after next, I'm ready. I am ready. I've got everything ready for week after next, and that is I head for New York and New Jersey. I'm ready for any eventuality of snow because week after next, November 15 and 16, I'm with KJI at their open house, and we're holding not only training and an open house, but also the Amateur Radio Instructor Academy a week after next. And then that following week, I'll be with Bob and Sarah Heil in New York City, November 17 to 21. And there I'll meet up with the South Bay Amateur Radio Club, the Hosark Amateur Radio Club, possibly on the menu, and the Suffolk County Amateur Radio Club, plus others out in Long Island. So if you're on the East Coast, look me up. I'll be in your city, all decked out, ready to roll. And by the way, Bob and I will be going, along with Sarah, to the Radio Club of America. And that is Saturday the 22nd in New York City, where Bob is the keynote banquet speaker. So big things happening with amateur radio. And yeah, there's the snow, and I can feel it coming down now. Back to you, George, while I get on my snowshoes.
Boy, Gordo, sounds like y'all got a fine time coming up there. I don't guess you get a lot of use for that cap down there in Southern California, but maybe you can use it a little bit up there in New York. Well, I'm doing an amateur radio Skype club meeting tomorrow night, and I don't remember the name of the club right now, and I haven't heard from them this week, so I think I'm still doing it. We'll just have to see on that. By the way, over here behind me is the infamous WLW transmitter tower that blocks 2 towers. The bottom one is stacked upside down, and the other one is on top of it. And boy, they just made one great tower there. It's the only guide in the middle. So quite an iconic symbol there. One that if you're up in that area, like, I don't know, visiting Dayton Hamvention, you might just want to drive up there to Mason and have a look at that. It's really great. Well, Gordo, what else is going on?
Well, I'm taking a look at one of my popular flagpoles that we fly off the van, and it occurred to me there's got to be a better way than locking everything with this tiny little push button that pops out of this hole. There's been a lot of cases where we've heard that hams with flagpole antennas had them all the way up there. They didn't quite get the holes lined up, and it came zipping down one section after another section inside. That's a hazard. Or if they extended it too far, they run the likelihood of pulling the mast out. So Tracy and I found a antenna mast that is telescopic, and it comes from Don Lynn, November Delta 7 Lima. And the best part of it is it doesn't have a little hole like this with a little push button that pops in, but rather it has interlocking sections. So let's take a look and see this new flagpole. This is the mount for the flagpole. It's a drive-over aluminum mount, and we encourage those of you that have a mount like this that you need to be sure and push that in as far as possible, because if you have it too far out, you're going to bend that aluminum, and then the flagpole will always be angled in. So come up real close, and that way you'll be in great shape. Here is Tracy, WA6ERA setup. He's now driven over that. Notice how close it is there. In fact, that little fender well might help balance it, but that's a picture of the Titan 25-foot, all the way down now, made in the USA, no push button, each section isolated, telescopic mast that we saw at Pacificon from Don Lynn. As you can see, it's quite nice. Now, the neat thing about this flagpole is it's really designed for ham operators that want accessories on top of the pole. And here we see how Tracy has mounted a dual band antenna, but that's one of the accessories they sell that goes in the top, and the antenna mounts on it. So you don't have to worry about any modifications to the Don Lynn ND7L Titan 25-foot mast. And it's really a nice mast. Each section goes up, and when it won't go any further, you rotate 1/2 click and then drop it down about 1/2 inch, and you'll feel it lock in. So there's no push buttons to get you in trouble or have an antenna mast self-telescopic in and possibly injuring those of you below it. Not so with a Titan 25-foot mast. And it's easy to put up. There's Tracy, and Tracy is no, Jody. I'm sorry. There's Jody, and that's Tracy's better half. I'll get it straight. And here the antenna is all the way in the up position. And it's a fairly lightweight but extremely durable flagpole antenna. Thanks, Jody. And here is the bottom mounting as a way of going. And this is a great idea. My particular mount bottoms out into the mount itself, but here the pole passes down. There's a little boot on the bottom, so you use the ground as one additional area to keep it from walking around when it's all the way up. Quite a nice mount. Here's the top section that goes on the flagpole mount, but most important is the antenna rotator. And we'll get a close-up look at that, but it's a 12-volt antenna rotator that Tracy also spied at one of the ham fests. That's a nice way to turn a directional antenna. All right, everybody lean over to your right, and here you see Tracy's just getting that up there. And again, when it gets to the top of each section, there we go. Thank you, Brian. At the top of each section, he just turns it 1/4 to the right, drops it down about 1/2 inch, and he feels it locks in. And it is securely locked in. It's not going to come crashing down because of a pin failure or something loose in the hole that causes it to drop, like my old flagpole masts. And you got to be sure you're level. So Tracy's got a great little level to make sure that that mast is standing tall. And we'll probably see these masts out at Quartz Fest as well. And there it is with a directional antenna. And again, the rotator is quite unique. It's up inside that little box there, and it turns that antenna quite nicely. You could probably handle a small 3-element beam as well. So this is neat stuff. Now, there's the single-axis controller, and it's called portable rotation. That's where you'll look that up. And I mean, this even reads out in degrees, so you have a great idea as to what's happening without having to get up and look at the antenna. And there the antenna is up 25 feet, or you could do it 20 feet or 15 feet. And again, the pole is relatively lightweight, but it is thick-walled, so it's not going to be goosey-loosey when it's up and playing, even with a modest-sized antenna on top. Now, here's Tracy and Jody's vehicle, and pretty neat. On the Jeep, they've got the door, so you open up the door, the aft door, and there's his radio gear. He's got the chair right there. And Tracy's the main man for emergency communications service serving San Bernardino County. And wow, is that cool? He's got the little buffer battery. He's got the Anderson power pole. Tracy, a great setup. So for more information about the mast, you go to www.disasterguy, all one word, disasterguy.net. That's Don Lynn, November Delta 7 Lima. He's up in Idaho. He'll be down for some of the Ham Fests this winter, and we'll probably see him there. But that's where to look up the Titan 25-foot flagpole, www.disasterguy, all one word, .net. And I think you'll enjoy that antenna setup in getting the antenna aloft without having to worry that it's going to come crashing down. And there it is, Titan telescopic communications pole. Not a flagpole, although it'll fly a flag quite nicely. So that's the story at this end. I'll see you all in about 3 weeks from now. And those of you on the East Coast, I'll be looking forward to seeing you soon. And I do want a little bit of, I'll get my hat on correct this time. I do want to see a little bit of snow back there. So if you can, make it happen. All right, 73. See you in 2 weeks on the East Coast for our Instructor Academy.
Boy, that's great, Gordo. I really like that mast there. You know, I could use a good portable telescopic mast, and, you know, I haven't got one yet, so I'll definitely have to check that one out. Well, I'm feeling a little bit hungry here. Don, have you got any suggestions?
I'm thinking something from NatureBox, and man, looking at the mast, I'm thinking that'd be great for field day. And of course, field day, you're always looking for something to eat. But man, lose the candy bars and forget about the chips and all that other stuff. It's not good for you. Grab some NatureBox stuff and bring it to field day or anytime you're operating outside. And right now, NatureBox is giving you a chance to get a complimentary trial box of their most popular snacks. You just pay $2 for shipping. What's cool about NatureBox? Well, NatureBox has hundreds of delicious snacks, and you don't have to feel guilty about eating them because they're better for you. 0 artificial flavors, 0 artificial colors, no artificial sweeteners, 0 grams of trans fats, no high fructose corn syrup. You'll even find snacks with no added sugar and without gluten. Look what they sent me here, and I know everyone's got some of this. They sent me this stuff, sea salt pops. Okay, it's popcorn, but it's not fluffy popcorn like you normally think. If you like corn nuts, this is a much better alternative to corn nuts because it's kind of what it looks like. It looks like corn nuts. That's a horrible shot because of the shadow. But anyway, it's like half popcorn, and it's really, really good. And another thing, George, what did they send you? They sent you some stuff too, I think, didn't they? What you got, George? You're muted.
I've got exactly what you were talking about, the sea salt pops. Yeah. You know, it kind of reminded me of caramel corn, but it wasn't sweet. It's like you said, kind of like corn nuts.
It's salty.
Yeah, the other thing I got was the Big Island pineapple, dried pineapple rings, and
I had that last week
too.
Yeah, I had that last week. Gordon, what do you have? What's your favorite?
I've got the nom-noms. I hope I'm pronouncing that. They are pumpkin spice, so they were great this past weekend for Halloween. And I didn't give these away because they tasted so good, so the kids trick-or-treating didn't get any, and I love them. They are great.
Now, check this out. This is my favorite so far. When I was a kid, Fig Newtons. But look at this. Whole wheat raspberry figgy bars. It's like a Fig Newton, but it's got raspberry in it. And what's good about these is they're individually wrapped. So I can toss this into my bag, keep a couple of these in my desk drawer at work, and it's just great. You need to check out NatureBox. So start your trial today. Get your complimentary sampler box at naturebox.com/twit. Stay full, stay strong, start snacking smarter. Go to naturebox.com/twit. NatureBox. Oh, man. Thank you so much for your support of Ham Nation. It's a good thing that I pre-recorded Newsline tonight, huh? From Amateur Radio Newsline Report, number 1942, these are the Ham Nation headlines for Wednesday, November 5th, 2014. 2 experimental payloads designed to operate in the 70-centimeter amateur satellite band have been lost after an Antares 130 launch vehicle on a resupply mission to the International Space Station was destroyed only a few seconds after it cleared the launch tower.
The October 28th launch from NASA's Wallops Island, Virginia facility at first appeared to be going smoothly, but at about 8 seconds after liftoff, the booster exploded in a hail of flames and fell back towards its launch pad. While there were no full or half-duplex ham radio communication satellites on board, 2 of the microsats being carried on the International Space Station for later deployment were designed to be operating as data and beacon downlinks in the 70-centimeter amateur satellite band. One was the GOMX-2, which was a developmental concept microsat for aircraft location. The other was to be the radiometer atmospheric CubeSat experiment known by the acronym RACE. It was co-developed by a student team at the Texas Spacecraft Laboratory at the University of Texas in Austin in cooperation with NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, California. This was to be a technology microsat designed to transmit GMSK coding at 38.4 kilobits per second and CW telemetry on a downlink frequency of 437.525 megahertz.
Jim Davis, W2JKD, with that report. The primary cargo on the Antares was food and other supplies to restock the ISS day-to-day crew needs. Another part of the cargo was material for scientific projects that included the Houston School's experiment on pea growth and a study on blood flow in space. In all, nearly 1,600 pounds of science and research materials were lost in the launch mishap. Ham operators in Indonesia could become part of a response team if the Ebola virus were to hit that nation.
This as researchers from a study program of the University of Gajah Mada School of Engineering introduced guidelines for anticipating and preventing the spread of the deadly disease in that nation. According to a professor of physics engineering at the college, Indonesia lacks both the knowledge and the adequate health equipment needed to detect Ebola early. Using a simulation created for such an event, and in cooperation with the Yogyakarta branch of the Indonesian Amateur Radio Organization and the Indonesian Red Cross, the 3 will work together to formulate a standard operating procedure for tackling Ebola infections. This will be submitted to the governor for his consideration. According to the Jakarta Post, it's hoped that the proposal could provide basic guidelines for an Ebola mitigation procedure on a national level.
You'll find a link to more information in the full edition of this week's Amateur Radio Newsline Report. Space weather reports that giant sunspot AR-2192 we reported on last week erupted again October 24th, producing a powerful X3 class solar flare.
A pulse of extreme ultraviolet radiation from the flare ionized the upper layers of the Earth's atmosphere, causing a brief but strong blackout of high-frequency radio communications over the day side of the Earth. This was followed by an X1 class flare on Saturday, October 25th at 1709 UTC that had a similar effect. Coronagraphic data from NASA's Solar and Heliospheric Observatory suggests that the explosions did not hurl a significant coronal mass ejection towards our home planet. So far, none of the X-flares from this active region has produced a major CME. Sunspot AR-2192 is now approaching the sun's western limb, and by the time many of you hear this, it'll be gone for its 2-week transit on our home star's far side. However, the odds of an Earth-directed radiation storm will remain high for a while. This is because the western limb of the sun is well connected to Earth and solar magnetic fields springing out of that region spiral back towards our planet. If a sunspot passing through the area explodes, those magnetic fields can funnel energetic particles in our direction.
Indonesia's new national leaders are both amateur radio licensees. The ARRL reports that President Joko Widodo, YD2JKW, holds a general class license, and Vice President Jusuf Kalla, KC8HYK, is an advanced class licensee. Elected in July, Widodo and Kalla were inaugurated October 20th in Jakarta. And finally this week, a lightweight micropower ham radio floater balloon launched in Australia has been heard in the United States.
A party-type pico balloon carrying a payload was launched from Melbourne on Saturday, October 18, and tracked to Tamworth, New South Wales, between Sydney and Brisbane. It was launched by Andy VK3YT, who says that during the flight, solar-powered pico balloon PS23 was heard on WSPR as far away as the United States by Whiskey 8 Alpha Charlie in Ohio. The tracking of the 25 milliwatt balloon involves stations in VK1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7 and ZL1 using Olivia and JT65 on 30 and 20 metres. For the Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Graham Kemp, VK4BB of the WIA News in Australia.
And that's all from the Amateur Radio Newsline, your independent source for amateur radio news, brought to you each and every week for over 35 years and counting at www.arnewsline.org. With Jim Davis, W2JKD, and Graham Kemp, VK4BB, I'm Don Wilbanks, AE5DW 73. We'll see you next time here on Ham Nation.
Don.
It's good, he says.
Yeah.
All right, George, I'm busy.
I think it's the pop-pops. You can't put them down once you open them up. I know
And they're
from
loud.
experience. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, they are. Well, you know, there's a lot of new battery technologies available to us today, and I've recently picked up what I think is a pretty good find, and I just wanted to share it with you and how I'm going to use it. So let's take a look at it.
Several years ago, I bought one of these Jumpstart battery packs, and it's been real handy for jump-starting my lawnmower when it wouldn't crank, and smaller vehicles. It's also good for powering 12-volt items like a rig. You could run it on low power, and I've done that before. Unfortunately, the battery finally went bad in mine, and it was time to get a new one. I went to Harbor Freight and found what I thought was a good deal. I brought it home, but when I looked at it, the workmanship wasn't so great, and the little wall wart charger that came with it was dead. So I took it back and got a refund and went searching further. I run across the new generation of lithium battery packs, and these look kind of interesting, and I ended up buying a Powerall. It's a portable power bank battery jump starter. It's got a flashlight on it, and you can recharge a lot of 5-volt items with it. Just a neat little device. It's supposed to supply 400 amps of peak current, which would be good for cranking a vehicle. The battery capacity is 12,000 milliampere hours, or 12 ampere hours. It's supposed to be good for more than 500 charges. A couple of 5-volt outputs on it, well, actually 2 USBs, and one little coaxial style connector for charging your USB devices or any small device that can operate off 5 volts. There's also the 12-volt output on it, and that is right here. And it comes with a set of jumper cables here to use for jumping a vehicle. I haven't tried that yet because I haven't had a dead battery, but this should work as good as a little lead acid one that I had previously. It came with a little 12-volt wall wart for charging it up, and it also came with a cigarette lighter adapter so you could charge it off a vehicle, and a package here of various different types of adapters to fit cell phones, iPods, just a variety of little 5-volt devices. Well, I probably won't be using it much for that. The main thing I'm interested in is jump-starting a vehicle or using it for 12 volts to power a QRP rig and some of my ham projects. Now, one thing to keep in mind is some rigs really want 13.8 volts as opposed to 12. This won't put out 13.8 volts. If I measure it here, and this one was charged a couple of weeks ago, it's got 12.34 volts, so keep that in mind when choosing one of these. Well, this is this odd style connector here, and I've never really seen that one before. I did a little searching and determined that this is called an EC5 connector. It's 5mm style. There's several different ones, so you want to be careful about that. And I ordered a package of connectors here. It's got 5 pairs in here, 5 male connectors and 5 females. I found it on eBay, and it only cost $10.58, and the shipping was free on it. Now, the battery pack itself was around $100, but, you know, that's a little more than I wanted to spend. But, you know, this is real lightweight, and I felt like it was probably worth it. Now, the connector comes with the shell and a couple of the little hoods or pins or whatever you want to call them here, and you solder the wires in the rear of it. And that's what I'm going to do to make me a 12-volt output for this thing. Now, I'm going to take just a good heavy piece of wire here that came off of a rig, and it's already got the fuses in it. That's kind of important. And I'll put the EC5 connector on one end, and I'm going to put power pole connectors on the other end. The first thing I'll do is install the power pole connectors, and we've done these before, but I'm going to use a 45 amp connector here, and you see this one is split instead of being round on the end, so we're just going to have to kind of see how my crimpers work with that. I've got the West Mountain radio crimpers here, and I've already put one of the terminals up inside ready to go. I've stripped back the wire to the approximate correct length. If you look, just strip it back where it comes to the end there. You don't want a lot of extra lead left over. Now, I had never done one of these split connectors with the power pole crimpers before, but it looks like that did an excellent job of it. And you want to make sure that you got the polarity correct on these things. They can go either way. You could put the red on either side of the black there, but the correct way to do it is look here at the front of them, and there's a little A on here. The red one should be on the right hand side, so we're going to slide them together like that, and you'll hear these things click as you slide them in, and they should come just over that little metal tab on the inside. So there's our power pole end of it done, ready to plug a rig into. Now we'll do the EC5 connector ends. First, we need to determine how far the wire is going to slip up inside the connector, and I'm going to use a razor blade knife here, and we'll just cut through the insulation there, being careful we don't nick the wires on the inside. And let's just check it to make sure we got the right amount, and that's about right. The insulation comes right to the bottom of the connector. Now, if you watched me solder before, you know I like to use some solder paste, some flux, to help get the connections flowing good. So I'll just slip the wire down in some flux, and now we'll tin it. And I've put a larger tip here in my soldering station, and I've got the power turned up all the way. You could probably do this with a soldering gun if you wanted to, but this soldering station seems to get hot enough to do work like this. Now that looks better. Tinned all the way around, and there's a little bit of extra solder kind of stuck on the wire there because this hole is plenty big. It's not going to be a problem with fitting it inside the connector. The next thing we need to do is tin the inside of the connector here. I want to use a little bit of flux in there as well, although this is a gold-plated connector and should solder pretty good. Since my wire is not nearly as big as the hole that we've got here, I'm going to put some solder in that hole so that when I stick the wire in, it should just fill it out. Okay, we can see the solder coming just over the top of the connector there. So that should be enough. Now we need to let that cool before we move it because we don't want a cold solder joint. Both of them have cooled. I've cleaned off the excess flux. The solder looks good and shiny, so time to install it in the shell. Now when we look at the shell, there is polarity markings on it for negative and positive. The positive side is going to be the flat side here. So we'll put our red wire in there and the black in the negative. I'm going to use a screwdriver to help push it down in there. And once you've got it all the way down, you'll feel it click into place. Now let's see if this worked. Fits into the battery pack well. And I'll try my little power pole tester here. And it's green, which means I got the polarity correct. So there you go. A good little 12-volt QRP source that ought to give you quite a bit of runtime. And it's really lightweight.
Now, I haven't used that with the radio yet, but I plan to soon. And I think it's going to work great. Now, I probably, won't be able to run the radio at full power, but turn down for QRP use, I think I'll get, a decent amount of time out of it. Well, last week, I asked a question, what is another name for a J-pole antenna, and why did it have that name? And we got our winner here. It's John Hyatt, KC7DRI, and he said the J-pole antenna is also called a ZEP antenna, and that's short for Zeppelin. It was first invented by Germans for use in their lighter-than-air balloons. They'd trail behind the airship, and it consisted of a single element, 1/2 wavelength long radiator, and a 1/4 wave parallel feedline tuning stub. And this was modified to the J-pole configuration by at least 1943 and became popular with amateur radio operators. And that's kind of one of the one of the early projects you ought to do after you build that 1/4 wave ground plane. A J-pole is nice, and building them out of copper tubing has really become popular recently. And we've got the kit you need to do that with right here. It's a J-pole adapter. It's from jpoleadapter.webs.com, or that's Dennis Bartholomew, AF6TR. He's got a 1/2-inch copper T here. You just buy a piece of 1/2-inch copper tubing at Lowe's or wherever, cut it the right length, put it in here. He's got the little tuning element here. And he's also, this is the thing that really makes this kit nice. He's got a little brass fitting here, perfect size for soldering onto the pipe. And he's got an SO239 connector mounted to it as well. So J-pole adapter, it's a great little device for building your own copper J-pole. And next week, I've got another question for you. Who is credited with inventing the first battery? And what can you win? Well, Bob's not here this week, so let's give away his shirt, and we'll give away his cap too. If you'd like to win those, well, answer that question I just asked and send me your answer to hamnationcontest@gmail.com, and you may be next week's lucky winner. Well, I got one more video here tonight. I was at Pacificon recently with Gordo and Bob and Randy and just a whole lot of folks there. Gordo, you remember your friend Neil, W6FOG?
The Leo, indeed.
Well, I had a great visit with him, and I shot a little video here that I've already put over on my Pacificon special. That's at amateurlogic.tv. You can see all the people I talked to at Pacificon, how much fun we had. But I just wanted to show you Neil's video right here. Some of us are really out there as ham operators living a good life, and I think Neil probably fits that description.
You never know who you're going to run into at a ham fest, and when I ran across this guy here, I had to learn more. I'm talking with Neil, W6FOG. Neil, good to meet you.
Likewise, George. Good to meet you.
So you've got on the captain's hat here. Tell me why you wear that.
I've got 122,000 ocean miles. I've basically sailed around the world 5 times.
Wow. So do you live on a boat? Or?
Yeah, for 23 years now. We live on a 43-foot overall west sail.
But you still have a ground-based ham shack.
A mobile ham shack.
Okay, and this is it right here.
Yeah.
You want to show me around?
Sure, be glad to.
So tell me a little bit about the shack here. What gear do you use? What do you use the most?
I mostly use the Elecraft K-line for all my network and for communicating with. And then I have my satellite equipment and extra receiving equipment and VHF, UHF, and then the computers. And then the KX3 goes up on the dash of my motorhome. So that way I have communications when I'm on the road.
So what's your favorite mode? What do you operate most?
Mostly nets. I'm really involved in Gordon West's 7240 net and then the RV service net. I'm also a net controller there. And then I help out other nets because living out on the ocean, I have a zero noise level. So I'm always there in the mornings to help relay in the weak stations or the QRP stations.
So do you get on 14300 much?
Oh, yeah, because I go up there for technical advisory because I have a master's degree in electronics, and then I help people that have broken boats out at sea. I help walk them through getting them fixed. So
let's see, you've got a little bit of everything. You could operate anything you want in here, huh?
Yeah, because I'm on the road. I've made all my electricity for the last 23 years, you know.
So how do you power the shack here?
I have Trojan batteries, golf cart batteries, because they hold the most current capability, and they're 250 amp hours for the pair.
Wow, that'll do it.
Then I have 260 watts of solar on the motorhome and 200 watts on here, so I have plenty enough power. The only time I fire up the 2 kW generators when I want to run the KPA 500 watt amplifier.
So do you find that your solar cells are enough to really keep your batteries topped off?
Oh, absolutely. Usually by 1 or 2 o'clock, they're topped off for the day, and I never run out of power. You know, and if I do, I always can kick on the generator because I do have a inverter that has a battery charge that puts out 100 amps, so it can totally recharge the batteries from dead in 2.5 hours.
Apparently, amateur radio and boating are not Neil's only hobbies.
The quadcopter up here, which I flew over Quartzsite, Arizona, to 2,000 feet at Quartz Fest, and shot video. You can see that up on YouTube. Just go to YouTube and type in W6FOG. So I have 2 quadcopters and 9 helicopters, 2 speedboats. Behind George there is one that does 75 miles an hour. It has a marine-cooled water engine in it, and then a sailboat back there. I'm sure in a minute he'll show you those. But I don't drink, so this is where my drinking money goes, is into RC and amateur radio. That's an RC boat. That's the only gasoline-operated boat I have, and that has a 26cc marine-cooled water engine, and it'll do 75 miles an hour. And then I have a Barbie doll on water skis behind it, and she's waving with one hand and holding on the rope with the other. And then the sailboat, you can see all these up on YouTube, because I put up a lot of YouTube videos of me running them. Just go to YouTube and up in the search engine, type in W6FOG. And up on the wall up there are the 2 controllers that control all of these instruments. The one that's the DX3R is for land and water, and then the one that says DX8 is for all the air, for the airplanes and quadcopters. Anything that flies in the air uses that one. Anyone that goes on land or water is the other one. And then I have a quadcopter that'll fit in the palm of your hand. These happen to be 1922 Pyrex insulators I bought for $1 a piece. What a score. From 1922. People say, aren't those awful heavy? Yeah, but the looks of them is neat.
So I see you've got some crates here, Neil. What is this?
This is all the stuff I was able to take off the boat and give me more storage, and also out of my motorhome. So now I finally have a portable garage after 23 years that I can finally have a place to work and not make a mess of my boat or motorhome.
So do you have a spare for a lot of stuff, parts?
Oh, you know it. You got to be redundant. You know, sailors are that way.
Neil, I see you've got a travel companion here. Who is this?
That's my wife. And the reason why she's my wife, she's been with me for 23 years. She doesn't say no to anything I want to buy, and she doesn't know what a credit card is.
Boy, that's a good idea.
An ideal wife. Yeah. VA sent her to school for 7 months to become a service animal. So she's allowed to go anywhere I want to go, you know, into restaurants, into grocery stores or whatever, you know.
Yeah. What type of service could she do?
Well, I'm a 100% disabled Vietnam veteran, and there's a lot of meds I need to take. And she reminds me at 10 o'clock, it's time to take meds, and she counts my meds. She rags on me if any are missing. So if I'm out of vitamin B6 or any of the pills that are just vitamins, I put out Skittles so she gets her count right. If not, she'll rag on me for hours. You need to take another pill, you know?
Oh, man, that's a good idea. How old is she?
She's now 23, but they live 75 to 125 years.
So she'll outlive you.
Yeah, I've got a granddaughter that's all ready to take her when Grandpa buys his lunch.
Wow. Well, that's neat. So she does go everywhere with you then?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, she's a great partner.
How does she like traveling on the boat?
All the way up here. She's saying she loved to get in the motorhome and go anywhere. She loves to travel, which is great, you know.
It looks like she likes coax, too.
Yeah, if I don't watch her, she'll take the shield, the outside coating off. So I got to keep my eye on her. So I have a chewing fetish.
So she will strip the cables for you?
Yeah, she's stripped quite a few that I've had replaced.
Now, starting here at the ground, I see a tripod there, and I see a hand pump, and there's this nice pneumatic mast there. What type of setup is this? I've never seen this exact one before.
It's actually a photography mast, and I bought it at Quartzsite, where this year we had 550 hams out there, and at the end of the last day of the Quartz Fest, we have a swap meet, and I purchased this tower. Originally, I have the manual on it, and they paid $13,850 for it, and I picked it up for $2,000, but it's pneumatic, and it'll go up to 50 feet, and then it's got 24 guy lines on it. And then it closes up and goes up on the roof of my motorhome, and then the tripod goes inside the trailer.
And you use an air compressor instead of the hand pump?
Yeah, because it's 40 pumps per section, and it's a lot of pump to pump up 8 sections, you know.
Yeah, that'd be quite a few tires.
But it's great. No matter where I go, in an hour and a half, I can be up and set up and operating on the air.
So you've got a push-up pole there, too, so you'll set up more than one antenna occasionally.
Oh, yes. I just purchased this pole here today. Yeah. Out in the desert, I put up a 17-meter beam and then the 40-meter 10 through 40 meter rotatable dipole, and then I've got a vertical, a 43-foot vertical goes on the tongue of the cargo trailer.
So obviously you don't have the mast fully extended right now because there's all these other antennas around here. Is that some type of rotatable dipole you have?
Yes, it's a Comet H422, and it's 10 through 40 meters, and the neat part, it's flat on all 4 bands. And yeah, it looks a little different because it's yellow. That's zinc chromate, which in the salt air keeps some of the salt air eating up the antenna.
Well, I was wondering about that because I've never seen one that color before, but that's why, huh?
Right. That's what they put on the bottom of outboard motors to keep them salt from eating into the motors.
And you can break that down and it fits in the PVC tube on top.
Right. I have 2 rotatable dipoles I carry in there. I have another one for 12, 17, and 30 meters. It's still in there.
So what type of antenna do you operate on the boat?
I have a 20, 40, 80 meter rotatable dipole 55 feet off the water. And I have 0 noise level out there, so I do a lot every morning until noon, relaying for different nets. When they can't hear the QRP or the people are real weak, I help by getting them in so they get to check in.
So I don't guess on HF the movement of the boat with the waves really affects your signal, does it?
Not at all. And being over the salt water just really boosts the signal too. And it's real calm in the bay where I live. We may get a wind wave with a 70-knot wind, but it doesn't move the boat much because it's 12.5 ton.
So how much time do you spend on the water every year?
6 months out of the year. I used to spend all the time for about 20 years, but now that I have a motorhome, I'm doing more, getting to see the United States because I've been all over the world, you know.
So 6 months on land, 6 months at sea.
Right. Yes, that's correct.
So I guess, let's see, the motorhome, those are often called land yachts, aren't they?
My prairie schooner.
Okay. You've got California Rescue Communications. Is that a specific organization that you're a member of?
Oh, absolutely. That's Gordon Westnet that we deal with earthquakes. If there's one in San Francisco or L.A., we start sending equipment and supplies from one city to the other. And being halfway in between the two, I'm a relay point in case we've got bad band conditions, but I'm all set to go into the affected area and start running traffic out. And I do have 10 handheld radios, which I don't leave laying around in there, to where I can do a grid search with 50 people looking for someone that's lost.
Wow. And I guess being on the water, the earthquake is not really going to affect you because you're self-sufficient.
Right. Yeah, and if we had another tsunami, I have another place to live. I got my motorhome and cargo trailer in case my boat ends up on Main Street of Morro Bay.
Good point. Well, Neil, I appreciate you talking with us. It's been a lot of fun and real interesting, too. Interesting lifestyle, and, boy, it sounds like you're having a good time.
Oh, yeah, that's what retirement's all about. Most people have a bucket list, you know, a small bucket. I have a 55-gallon drum. I've been retired for 7 years, and it's still overflowing.
Maybe you need a second drum.
Yeah, I think so.
Thanks, Neil.
Right on, George. Have a good time.
Oh, boy, that was a lot of fun. And Neil's a heck of a guy there. And really, he's doing a great service. I did not realize that when you got out on the water like that, that you had no noise. But it makes sense because you're not around anything that's going to cause any interference, and a great ground plane there, too, with the ocean. Well, right now, let's get a message from ICOM.
Got a license or just upgraded? Get on HF with ICOM. Check out the IC7200, IC7410, and IC7100. Each feature ICOM's signature DSP technology. The IC7200 is an entry-level radio that's packed with quality features, including AGC loop management, built-in digital filters, twin passband tuning, and manual notch filter. You also get digital noise reduction and noise blanker in this high-stability transmitter, and you can take this rig out of the shack. It's built military tough with waterproof buttons and knobs. The IC7410 is a high-performance radio for everyday HF communications. Features include fast digital signal processing, double conversion super heterodyne system, built-in 15 kHz first IF filter with optional 3 kHz and 6 kHz first IF filters. This promotes enhanced operation on CW and single sideband modes. The IC7100 employs multiband and all-mode digital operation right at your fingertips. Features include touchscreen and angled control head for optimal viewing, 32-bit floating point DSP for powerful HF operation, and optional RSBA1 IP remote control software. Look to the future of HF with this D-Star radio. So whether you've just got your license or just upgraded, get on HF with ICOM.
And you can tune in and enter to win after each episode of Ham Nation. Go to icomamerica.com/HamNation. Throw your name in the hat for some great swag prizes like T-shirts and hats and a lot more. And you'll also be entered in the grand prize drawing each month. And for November, the grand prize is going to be the simple and tough IC7200 HF rig with IFDSP, AGC loop management, USB connectivity for audio and control, digital filters and noise reduction, plus a whole lot more. So go to icomamerica.com/HamNation after this episode and each episode of Ham Nation and enter to win. And the October grand prize, well, that was the ID51A 50th anniversary edition. You know, that nice looking little D-Star handy talkie. Well, we had a winner on that, and that's Brianna, KE0ATZ. That's ATZ as in Z. And she's from Independence, Missouri. So congratulations, Brianna. You're really going to enjoy that handy talkie there. Well, let's go with Amanda now. I know there's got to be some questions in the chat room this week. Hi, Amanda.
Well, good evening, George. Yes, of course, we have lots and lots of questions. Sorry, let me just get this in front of me. Oh, let's see. I have some for you after your great video. Andy, KE0AYJ, he would like to know if you could piggyback two or more of those together.
Two or more of what?
The units you were messing with.
Oh, you mean the batteries?
Yeah.
Piggyback. Yeah, you could probably put a couple in series. I don't know if I would try putting them in parallel, though. Might not be a good idea.
Okay, good to know. And Gordo, let's see. I've got some questions for you. Let's see. I'm sorry, I lost my place here. When should you use an SO239 with PTFE versus PBT insulation?
All right. And, George, I'd probably put those two batteries in parallel, because if we stuck them in series, you'd then have 24 volts, and your rig would really glow. But I know what you mean on that one. And you can correct me if I had it wrong. On the SO239s, generally for HF, the insulation material is not real critical. Now, when you get up to UHF and even higher frequencies, then we graduate over to an N connector. So I would say that whatever the coaxial cable chassis unit has, called an SO239, whatever that insulation is, for high frequency, you'll be fine unless you're running like 10 kilowatts. And of course, no ham would ever run that kind of power. Back to you.
No, I heard that's for the CBers. Very good. Okay, Don, let's see. I've got a question for you as well. Oh, and by the way, you guys, that was from Don KB2YSI that asked that question. Mr. Don, nice to see you at the end of the show this week. And let's see. Sam, KD9 CHY, he says, he has an antenna in his backyard, but it is surrounded by power lines. He says he has power lines down both sides of his backyard and wants to know if there's any way to put anything up above 30 feet, if it's unsafe, any suggestions for him?
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I've got a power line close by my antenna as well, and it's a wire antenna. You know, you got to be careful because you do not want to touch those lines. You can die. Mm-hmm. Simple as that. So, no, don't chance it. It's not worth it. If you've got a corner of your house or your lot or something that you can put something up, maybe a small vertical, or if you put something close to the ground, especially on I think 40 and 80, you get into the near vertical incident skywave, and it might actually enhance your local communications if you're not looking to do a whole lot of DX. But Gordon might be able to shed more light on that as well. But man, just know if you're close to the power lines, you might want to go with an indoor dipole or something in your attic. Just stay away from the power lines. Don't chance it. It's not worth it. It's worth it. Exactly. Ooh. Yeah. And no, you don't want any part of that.
Very good. I understand. Anything to add, Gordo?
No, I just amplify what Don says. Anything that can even get near the power lines can sometimes, on the very high voltage lines, draw an arc, even when they're not even touching, but very close to them. So as far away from the power lines, and if that doesn't work, move.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yep. Borrow your neighbor's yard. Anyhow, okay, well, I do have a bunch of announcements to make. And first of all, I've owed this club this announcement for a while now. They all came out and helped me during my Bikes and Brews event. So to the Parker Radio Association, who's a brand new club outside of Southeast Denver, I would like to say thanks to everybody. I had an amazing time meeting you all. Dan Grady, who's the president, great guy, very energetic, got this group started, and they've got 43 members after, I think, less than a year. So, and his son, Colin, such a cute kid. So, you guys, Parker Radio Association, thank you so much. I've owed them that for a few months now. So, anyhow, some announcements. We have AK400. He wanted us to know about the St. Petersburg Amateur Radio Club Spark Fest. It's a free swap meet and tailgate. Free Saturday, November 8th, 2014 at Freedom Lake Park, Pinellas Park, Florida. So you guys Google that if you need any information. And also Eric, KD9CHO, just got his tech license 3 weeks ago. So congratulations there. All
Yay.
Right. And another new tech, and this guy lives about 30 miles away from me, KE0CCF. Alan, congratulations on your tech license as well, and to the Pikes Peak Amateur Radio Club for helping him get licensed there. Great job, you guys. Can't wait to hear you on the air. And of sad news, KC7 FPF, and you guys see him all the time in our chat, had announced that his Elmer KF4 YDO Harold Crosby is now an SK from Panama City, and also KC4 YRD Russell from Hancock, Ocala, Florida. So I'm sorry to hear that, my friend. And with that, you guys, I don't have any other questions. Anything else up for discussion for this evening?
Well, did you want to describe a little bit about simulated emergency test set?
Oh, I would love to. During our set here in Colorado, are you messing with me again, Gordo? He is. I heard him giggle. Hey, we did have a good set here in Colorado, by the way. We worked a little bit with Wyoming. Oh, you are funny. You guys are trying to get me to blush. I'm not going to do it. Not going to do it. And we did digital modes, WinLink, WinMore, and Packet. We did some... HF, 40, 80. 80 was horrible that weekend. So anyhow, it was very successful. Almost nearly every district in Colorado participated. So that was a good job on their part. George, let's send it to you. Any comments?
Yeah, I think we've got a few minutes, so we'll come back here and wrap up the show in a minute and take care of any last-minute details. But, Don, don't you have some news for us from DX Engineering?
I do. And before I get into that, I want to thank you. Mentioned you've got a Skype thing coming up with a ham club. I had one over the weekend, the first one that I've done. The Fox City Amateur Radio Club had their ham fest. They are the largest ham fest north of Milwaukee, and so they had me as a guest, and we talked about Ham Nation and Newsline and Young Ham of the Year, and it was a great time. So Dan Van Evenhoven helped put that together. So thank you so much to those folks up there. I had a great time. Now let's talk about coax and DX engineering. It's often overlooked, but the most important part of your station are the connectors and your cable. Okay, this is it, and this is good stuff from DX engineering. Now, a faulty or incorrectly installed cable can give you RF interference, premature cable failure, and let's face it, if you don't have the right connector, Brian, you know what you got if you don't have the right connector? You have this. What are you gonna do? You gonna cram this into the back of your ICOM? I don't think so. Here's what you need right here in my hand. This is the Amphenol 83 1SP PL259. This is the world class. This is the one, the standard by which all other PL plugs are judged. This is it. You can find it all over the world, professional communications installations all over the planet. That's a solder-on connector. You've seen them a million times. Nickel-plated shell, silver-plated body. It is the world standard. It's durable and it's weather-resistant, and you can get it at DX Engineering. Now, something cool that DX Engineering has, look at this. This is brand new. Brand new. This is the new DX Engineering patent-pending proprietary PL259 design crimp-on connector. And you see it on a nice piece of big stuff from DX Engineering. Full diameter, full length, soldered center pin. And the large center pin also gives you a snug fit into your SO239, no matter what kind of dielectric you have in there. It doesn't matter. Silver-plated shell, knurled edges, makes it really easy to install. You can get a good grip on this bad boy. And if you want to get a really good look at it, go to the latest DX Engineering catalog, because it's right here on the inside of the back cover. There you can get a seriously serious look at this brand new thing right here. PTFE insulation for maximum insulation, improved performance. The assemblies are weather shielded, soldered by hand, 100% high pot tested, just like everything else that DX Engineering does at their headquarters there in Ohio. You can only get this connector on DX Engineering's high performance, low loss 8U, 213U, and 400 max coax cable. Again, DX Engineering ships faster than anybody else in the industry. They have the best stuff. And if you get your order in by 10 p.m. Eastern and it's in stock, it'll be on a truck headed your way tonight. Proven products, expert advice, the best in the world. DX Engineering helps you shrink the globe. Grab your catalog, shop online 24/7. DXengineering.com/HamNation. DXengineering.com/HamNation. The best stuff in the world. And DX Engineering, we are so proud to have you be part of the Ham Nation family. This stuff is, I mean, this is seriously nice. You get a good, George, you need to get some. You know who want Tommy, your friend Tommy, he's the one who ought to have a bunch of these.
Yeah, he's a big PL259 collector, Don. That's right. Well, let's wind back to gears a little bit. Gordo, you know, we just watched that video of Neil a moment ago. What do you think about that? You know a little bit about living out on a boat, don't you?
Yep, I've spent many a year aboard a boat, and Neil's sailboat is right in between San Francisco and Los Angeles. And either they or we are going to get the big quake, and our net every Monday through Friday, 7250 at 8:30 a.m. California time, our morning California rescue net. Neil has such a strong signal in both ways that when the big one hits, we're ready. And again, his sailboat has that huge dipole antenna well elevated above the seawater, so his kerplunk signal is kersmash into both the Bay Area as well as Southern California. And best of all, he's one cool operator, as you point out in that great interview. You really brought out the best, George. Good job.
Well, thanks, Gordo. Yeah, he's just, I thoroughly enjoyed talking with him there. And, you know, looks like he's real serious about all of his hobbies there and really serious about amateur radio. Nice setup there. Boy, all of us would like to have something like that. Well, we've got some nets tonight that we're going to try to make. I know that 20 meters is going to be on 14.283, and I know Echolink is going to be on star dewdrop in star node number 3555800 like it always is. Same with D-Star, reflector 14 module C, and I know Cheryl is going to be on 3847 on 75 meters. I wonder where the 40-meter net's going to be tonight. Do you guys know?
I'm sure Garlic Mike is going to have us around 72, 70 something. So just get there and then tune up or down. And when you hear a monster signal, that is Garlic Mike and his East Coast and Mid Coast net controllers on 40. And I'll see you there on 40 and maybe even 20.
Yeah. Amanda, did you say you knew?
No, I was looking as well. I did not see. But you guys, I do have one more important announcement. You know, we do know that Veterans Day is coming up, and we do have a special event to honor that. So make sure on the 11th that you look for W9L on 20 meters. He said around 14,275. So make sure you get out there, work that, and get your card for it. And also, let's just have some appreciation for our veterans on Veterans Day.
Right.
Oh. Cool. And one other thing we always forget to mention is our wiki. You know, there's a wiki where you can get the show notes on Ham Nation, what we talked about in the different episodes. And that's maintained by our good friend Dan Van Evenhoven in 9LVS. And the address is wiki, that's wiki.twit.tv/wiki/ham_nation. Go there and check out, you know, the different episodes. You can find out where we talked about stuff. When somebody writes me and wants to know what episode you talked about a particular topic in, that's where I go look. So it's a great resource, and we really appreciate Dan taking care of that. Well, Gordo, any final words for us?
There we go. Now I have audio. I was just tuning him in on 40. So look around 72, 77, go up or down, and you'll bump into them. So 73, I'll see those of you on the East Coast weekend after this coming weekend. And then the weekend after that, I'm there in Long Island, New York City for an entire week. So if you've got a club in New York City or Long Island, I'd be happy to attend your meeting. Back to you.
Okay. And Don, before you get back to those pop-pops there, if you got anything to leave us with?
No. Let's see. Saints in San Francisco this weekend. So, Brian, if you want to have a bet you want to lose, catch me.
Who dat?
Yeah, exactly. Catch me after the show. And LSU, Alabama. So a couple of big shows, big games. So, yeah, there you go. And there you go. So wave the flag and enjoy whatever it is you do. Go out and do it big and make Ham Radio part of it. And that'll do it for me, George. Thanks.
Oh, thank you, Don. Anything else, Amanda?
Hey, you guys, just have a great week. And Gordo, don't freeze out there. And please put away the short shorts because I think you're going to want to bundle up going out on the East Coast there. And everybody have a wonderful night. And if the Broncos lose to the Raiders this weekend, I might have to switch teams. So I think we're good to go. No, not going to happen. You guys have a great night. And I'll try to be on 40 here in a bit.
Yeah, thanks, Amanda. And some people ask in the chat room, I noticed, what is this tower behind me over here? Well, that's the iconic WLW transmitting tower. They are located, I believe it's in Mason, Ohio. Great old heritage station there, Clear Channel. It's 50,000 watts. At one time, they ran experimental 250 kW. No, was it 500 kW?
500.
Yep, it was 500. And I've got some great video with an engineer who actually worked there during that period that I've been sitting on for several months. I've got to get it put together here and bring it to you in the near future. Boy, it really got some great tales. That's around an 800-foot tower there. It's a Blau Knox. You notice it's sort of a triangular shaped. It's two towers, actually. The bottom one is upside down. And, yeah, let me get my hand out of the way. And right there in the middle where you see the WLW sign, that's where the two tower bases connect together, and it's guide there. And then it goes on up with another complete tower, and there's a pole out the top of it. It's in the neighborhood of 800 feet. I don't remember the exact height right now. It has been shortened a little bit from what it was originally, but I'm not going to give you the answer to why they did that. When I have that video in the future, though, you'll learn all about that. Really a great heritage station there.
Something else cool about that design tower. That design of tower is on the Mississippi amateur radio license plate. It is a Blawnox diamond tower with lightning bolts coming off of it. I've got one on the back of my car, so you can see it on my Facebook page if you go to my Facebook page. But yeah, the Mississippi amateur radio plate has a Blawnox diamond tower with lightning bolts coming off the top of it.
Wow.
Yep. That's
cool.
correct. There's also one of these towers, I believe, in Nashville, and I'm not sure if there's. Yep, I'm not sure if there's any more of them than that or not. I think most of the rest of them are gone. Actually, I had, well, not quite this tall, but where I used to work at the radio station, I lived next door because they had a house for the engineer, and we had one of these towers, not the two towers stacked into a diamond, but just one self-supported there. It's about 125 feet tall for studio to transmitter links. I had my 2-meter antenna on top of that for a while. Really worked well. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the show tonight. We had a great time. I think Bob will be back with us next week. Until then, remember, we're going to give away his shirt and his hat, so you better come back because you never know what we might give away next week. So, 7-3, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again here next week.
7-3.